Hey, so I'm just going to do a video on a topic or question I got asked there the other day, and I think it's a pretty relevant topic at the moment, obviously with the sun out and the summer coming, and that's basically, for lads, how can I, start to get some abs showing, or from a girl, how can I get my tummy that, that nice flat, that flat shape, I suppose. And to be honest with you, I'm going to show you or tell you the three different ways, kind of, or the most efficient ways to come at it from, that'll ensure you kind of, get there or get as close as you can to it. The first one, and honestly by far the biggest one, is going to be your diet. Um, I know people have said that you always say that, but it really is, especially when it comes down to something like having, a six-pack abs or a really flat tummy, because that boils down to basically your last few levels of body fat, or at least those stubborn areas. We notice that, we mightn't hold as much fat in other areas of our body, but it always tends to go to the stubborn areas there around our stomach, and that's completely normal. So to be honest with you, the problem where people kind of go wrong is they go into a gym and they start doing crunches, or they do a lot of core or ab work, and this is fine. It's going to work the abs, or it's going to strengthen the core, like obviously like any other muscle, they need to be worked like that, and strengthened. But unfortunately, you can do as many crunches, and many ab exercises as you want, but it's going to work the abs, but at the end of the day, they're lying underneath a layer of body fat that isn't going to be attacked by doing exercises there. Unfortunately, doing exercises like for your core or abs all day, that doesn't actually attack the fat in that area, and for the simple reason that there's no such thing as spot fat removal. So when you hear someone saying, "Oh, what can I do, to get rid of the fat in my arms?" You doing a lot of arm exercises. It works the muscle, the tricep and the bicep, but unfortunately it can't actually target fat in that specific area. We can't target fat in a specific area. What we can do is clean up our diet and train very hard, and our bodies will begin to burn fat throughout our body. But our body pretty much chooses where we burn the fat first. So my biggest advice there, still on my first point, is you really have to tighten up your diet. Now, when I say tighten up your diet, it doesn't mean, again, you starve yourself or anything like that. But you have to be pretty much in a strict caloric deficit. Again, this is to get down to those low levels of body fat so that your abs are shown, or that you've got a flat tummy. My biggest advice there is, if you're training hard and you're doing, lots and lots of core work, or you're just training hard in general, but you don't think your diet is in check, that's pretty much where you're going wrong, and that's where a lot of us go wrong in the first place. But especially for something like, if you want to get your abs shown, or you want to get that flat tummy, honestly, there's a saying that abs are made in the kitchen, and it pretty much is. It's a good way of putting it, because you really have to tighten up on your diet. You have to be in a caloric deficit, to be able to shift that last bits of body fat from around the tummy. My advice there is that, if you think your diet is off, you really need to get it cleaned up. And again, you need to assess that. It doesn't mean you start, depriving yourself and, just eating very little all day, or eating foods that you hate, because again, that's just not sustainable. You're not going to stick with that, and it's not even necessary. So the second point then is obviously going to be your training. If you're obviously, no matter what your training program, you want to be training specific to your goals. In this case, you're going to be burning fat, and you want to be burning it very, very well. So you want to be training, obviously, pretty hard, for the hour or so that you can every day, and you want to be pretty much training to burn into fat stores. So my advice is that you have to be pretty much in a good high intensity training program. Having good HIIT sessions every day is just going to burn more calories than kind of your standard training session. You want to have your heart rate up pretty high, and to pretty much go into that fat burning mode. That's kind of giving your body the chance to burn through the calories, burn through any glucose or glycogen stores in your body, and then pretty much get into fat stores. Like I said, my advice there would be to pretty much make sure you're on a pretty high intensity training program. Again, this doesn't mean that you have to be training for 3 or 4 hours every day, or you have to be training twice a day. It just means you have to train pretty hard for that, for that amount of time that you do train every day. Again, it doesn't mean you have to train every day, but it makes it a lot harder. You have to remember, if you're doing something like this, like, you know, where you haven't been before, you have to do stuff your body has never felt before. You know, it's pretty much like the saying, you know, if you really want to get down to those low levels of body fat, or if you want to see the abs that you haven't seen before, you're going to have to train like you haven't. You really have to shock the body. And I think that's the biggest thing there. You know, between your nutrition, between your training program, you're going to want to actually, you know, really nail both of them. And even then, it's very, very hard. You know, it can be stubborn for some people. And this is on to my third point. It takes a while. It's not going to happen over a week. Again, it's just going to come down to pretty much just patience and consistency. You know, some people, unfortunately, genetically are blessed like that. You know, they burn through calories a lot faster. They have a fast metabolism, and they genetically have abs shown very easily. You see it with a lot of lads, and some girls just have that flat tummy to begin with, and don't have to do a lot of work for it. Now, that's not always the case. It's rarely the case, especially, you know, if it's people who aren't mad into the gym. But there is some people who are just that little bit genetically blessed, in the sense that it comes a lot easier to them. So for most other people, it's just a matter of really nailing nailing your diet, and nailing your training. And then after that, it's a matter of giving it time. Like I said, you don't burn through 5 to 10% body fat in a week or so. It just doesn't happen like that. It's going to take a few weeks. So if you're kind of starting off from here, you know, it could take, you mightn't see, you know, results for 5-6 weeks, but it will be worth it. The thing about it is, if you stick with it, just like you won't get the, you know, abs shown in a week, they're not going to, you know, hide again overnight. So it takes a while to build them, but once you kind of get there, it's a lot easier to sustain them as well. You know, if you stay pretty much at that I suppose at that amount of calories, and you stay training at a decent intensity, you know, you're going to keep that flat tummy like you wanted, especially for the summer. And I think once you get to a point there where you have it, your motivation is there to keep it. But like we all know, the hard part is getting it. So just to recap, the biggest and most important point I can make is really to kind of get those last levels of body fat down around the tummy, or ab area. It's going to boil down to your diet. It really is. Like I said, don't waste too much of your energy doing, you know, hundreds of crunches and stuff like that, because as I said, it works that area. It's going to, you know, work the abs, or it's going to strengthen your core area, but unfortunately it's hiding behind those few layers of body fat, and that's not going to get rid of those layers of body fat. You can't target body fat in an area, unfortunately. You can target the muscle, and then collectively you can start to burn fat throughout the body, but your body decides where we burn the body fat. You don't get to decide. You can't target a certain area, and again, it's going to come down to your diet. You can't out exercise a bad diet. Again, you'd want to be training a crazy amount if your diet's off. And again, like I said, this is more so because we're trying to get rid of those last stubborn pockets of body fat. So secondly then, of course, is your training program. If you're only kind of training so, you're not training at a high intensity, you're not burning that many calories, or going into that fat burning mode for that hour or so that you're training every day, again, you're going to make life a lot harder for yourself. So whatever about your nutrition, you're going to have to be training pretty hard as well. And then thirdly, like I said, it's just going to take a while. This thing doesn't happen overnight. So yeah, you're just going to have to be patient with it. Like I said, some people it comes a little bit easier, but you know, it takes a few weeks, and even some people longer. Again, that's completely dependent on your starting point. You know, there's going to be some people starting at 20% body fat, there's other people going to be starting at 30% body fat. So for that reason, you should never ever compare to the person you see on Instagram, or your friend who's, you know, getting ready for, you know, a festival, and they're in already better nick than you, or you have a holiday coming up, or a wedding or something like that. And, you know, never compare to other people, just kind of focus on your own journey. So yeah, they're kind of my 3 best tips I can honestly give for someone who's looking to get those 6-pack abs, or that flat tummy for either the holiday or for a festival, or just the summer in general, and are finding a kind of a challenge. So I hope this helps. Any questions, drop me a message on this. I'd be glad to help. And in the meantime, please like, share, or tag your friends. Thanks.